Hello, everybody. I'm Chris Miglino. I'm here at the world-famous Roth conference. I'm here with Nathan Judge from ReNew Energy, traded on NASDAQ under the symbol RNW. So, Nathan, thanks for joining us today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. So, we are a long way from India, down here in Dana Point. But your business is focused on renewable energies in India. Now, having been to India many times myself, I've probably been to India around 20, 30 times.
Okay.
I have found that India is in need of energy. There is
Indeed.
I don't think there's been a time that I haven't been in India, not in Delhi, but outside, when I leave the city, where the energy doesn't go out at least once a day.
Yeah.
Right? So tell us about the business, tell us about the opportunity, and give us a lowdown of what's going on in India and how you guys are tackling that.
Well, I think we have a very exciting story, Chris, and you're right. There is a lot of activity in India, and the economic activity has just been very strong, and there's a very strong level of growth for the demand for electricity. We've seen probably around 20% growth at peak periods this year. Prior couple of years, it's been anywhere between 5 and 7%. And if you look out over the next, let's say 5 years, the expectation is that it's going to demand for electricity is going to double, which means considering that India is globally the third largest user of electricity, that's a lot of power.
But you guys are focused on renewable energy.
That's right.
So tell us, what does that entail? What's involved in that?
So the wonderful thing in India is that we're blessed with a lot of natural resource. A lot of sun, you can imagine, and good resource for wind as well. So that, as a consequence, means that renewable energy is the lowest cost form of power in the country. And it also has the benefit of being very green and very clean. So 100% of our portfolio is renewable energy. About half of it's wind, half of it's solar. And as we look at it today, we're about half of the cost of a coal power plant, what we're provided to the customer. So it's the natural choice for this growth that is coming. Today we have about 120 gigawatts of power, renewable energy power in the country.
Wow.
The government would like to have 500 gigawatts installed by 2030.
And all renewable.
Well, that is all focused. Yes, that target is on renewable only.
And I know from being in India that there is a massive push for anything green, clean, and the environment. And so you guys are positioned well for this.
We're the largest renewable energy power company in the country. And our primary core business is developing very large solar and wind projects across the country. We've also been investing into new technologies like storage that we're able to now compete against a coal-fired power plant and deliver power when it's needed.
Right.
And provide those guarantees at that time. So we are further distancing ourselves from the competition in a very robust growth market that we see today.
And what's the breakdown between the solar versus the wind?
So for our portfolio, we're about half and half.
Okay.
For the country across the board, it's more on the magnitude of around 2/3 solar and 1/3 wind, roughly speaking. When we look out to the future, given that solar only produces certain periods of time, and there is, as you rightly mentioned, all this demand, but it can't be supplied at night. So you need some type of off-balance, complementary source for the solar power. And so we are one of the largest developer of wind power. And so we think there's a real opportunity for us to be a faster grower with higher returns over this next 5 to 7 years for sure.
When I was looking at your website, the size of these solar projects is massive.
We are.
I mean, what's the capital infrastructure cost of installing a typical project? What does that look like?
So there are quite a bit of areas in India that are basically desolate deserts, right? and have a lot of very good irrigation and solar resource. And so we see plenty of land availability generally. It does need to be developed, I should say. And as a consequence, there's a lot of expertise that you need to do that. A lot of people on the ground that know the local laws, compliances, and things of that nature in order to develop that. Having said that, generally speaking, as I mentioned, we have a great resource as a country, and we do see plenty of availability of land generally, but having a big blanket statement like that can be very different once you get down to the locality, right?
And so it's by region.
It is very much region by region, and the big solar farms that you see out there are typically in the Rajasthani desert, which is basically the western northwest portion of the country.
And even from Rajasthan, you're delivering that electricity to all of northern India?
How far is the system?
Okay.
So we can deliver power from that area all the way down to the southern parts of Hyderabad and southern parts of India.
Really?
Yeah. So, ultimately, the government realizes that we've added about 300 million customers to the grid, new users of power that didn't have power before over the last, say, 5 years.
Amazing.
And with that, they need power. And building a coal plant takes 5 to 7 years, and it's a lot more expensive. We can build a power plant from renewable sources within 18 to 24 months. And it's about half the cost on capital costs. Globally, we're still one of the lowest cost providers of renewable energy power. And we're looking at other opportunities for exporting that through, say, green hydrogen and other ways like that. But principally right now, as we stand today, we are one of the top 10 renewable energy companies globally as it relates to operational capacity. We have about 8.7 gigawatts operating, which is generating somewhere around $780 million of EBITDA. Is what our target is for this year.
You want to say that again? So nobody, because that's a big number.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Say it again.
It's about $780 million of EBITDA that this year. And we're currently constructing another 5 gigawatts, of which almost 2 gigawatts are nearly finished by the end of this month. But of that 5, that should lift our EBITDA by about 50%. And that is contracted. So what you're effectively buying today for one of the lowest valuation multiples across the industry is a company that has very long-term, 25-year fixed contracts that has great amount of visibility with a considerable amount of growth, very significant returns that are above our cost of capital.
With a government that wants you to do it. With a government that's supporting green technology and pushing for...
They are, Chris, but they're not as involved as, say, as the U.S. We don't need subsidies. These numbers that I'm giving you are without subsidies.
Interesting.
Right? And so this all works because it is so cost competitive. And it also brings the benefits of being green and clean. As you know, India has a lot of pollution problems.
Yeah.
So this is a really good solution for that.
And if you compare the amount of renewable energy that's happening in India right now to what's happening in the United States, what's the magnitude of the difference?
Boy, Chris, you're asking me to know much more about the U.S. than I do India. So I'll
let that out.
But as I would say, broadly speaking, India last year added about 12 odd gigawatts to the country itself, and the U.S. was around 20 to 30 gigawatts from. Don't quote me on that, but what I recollect. So this year, both are growing, but this year, the government has put their foot stomped on the gas pedal. So last year we auctioned about 12 gigawatts. This year they are on track to auction 70. So we're seeing tremendous amount of opportunity for growth at very strong returns, and we've committed to the shareholders to fund that out of the lowest cost of capital. Right now, our stock has not been, as many renewable energy companies have not been great. And so as a consequence, our multiples are well below what we see as intrinsic value. We're selling about 20% of our company through capital recycling at a multiple about 9.5, 10 times. We build these projects for about 6.5 to 7 times EBITDA.
So it's accretive. Very,
very accretive. And we've actually also seen our stock is trading in the 7.5 to 8 times multiple. We've sold assets to buy back stock as well. So that's the path we look to continue to grow, and we have visibility for this 50% growth in EBITDA in the next 24 months. And then beyond that, we've won another 6 gigawatts that we don't have contracts for just yet. So we'll give you more updates once we get those contracts.
So EBITDA growing by 50%, a multiple of 6. That seems like good math there. Like, that seems like stock's at a good, like an opportunity for somebody to take a look at it.
Very much so. And, I think we have also focused a significant amount on ESG. We're ranked as one of the highest ESG across the globe in the renewable energy space. The highest ranked ESG by Sustainalytics and MSCI in India. And so we find governance, which is very important in an Indian context. Our largest shareholder is the Canadian pension plan, the second of the largest pension plan in Canada. We also have large investors from ADIA and JERA, which is the Japanese utility. And then about 30% of our company is publicly traded float, which is, as you mentioned, RNW.
With a significant market cap. It's around
$2.6 billion.
$2.6 billion market cap.
Plus or minus on a day.
which more than, it deserves even a higher market cap at the numbers that you're putting up there.
Well, we've just seen some recent activity related to M&A, some of our peers, and they have half of the operating capabilities, half of the EBITDA, and they are, one in particular, KKR, was just announced an acquisition, and they're paying about 50% more than our market cap today.
Wow.
We do think that it is underappreciated, and we also realize it's an Indian company trading on the U.S., so it's been trading for about 2 years now, and over time, we do believe that people will find this, and we're getting a lot more interest today than we were 2 years ago, for sure.
Well, the Indian economy has changed so much over the last, 20 years. The first time I went to India, there was cows outside the airport, and now you go and it's Heathrow. It's like you're at London Heathrow. The pollution in Delhi has gone down significantly.
You must went there in COVID because it's back up.
When I'm saying from the days when they had the rickshaws they had the rickshaws with gas. Now all the rickshaws are natural gas, and just getting rid of that alone changed the whole ecosystem, and the smell of the air still has that smell, but it's a beautiful and amazing place and I think that what you guys are doing is incredible. And if you can keep bringing new technology to enhance, the need for the electricity there, because I've spent a lot of time up in Rishikesh and around in those. Some of the towns that are not, Delhi's infrastructure has infrastructure. It's like a regular city.
Right.
But once you get out and you're in these little towns, it really, they really need some more electricity out there. And I think this is,
they do.
The market opportunity is just from a layman's perspective, right? Not knowing the in and out of the day-to-day business there. I would imagine that there is a massive need for this type of thing there.
And right now, there is a significant amount of economic growth driving a lot of the demand. But it's also, if you look at the adoptions of just normal things that we assume and take for granted, air conditioning, refrigeration, things like the EV cars are also catching hold in India quite in a big way. All of these things are driving very significant additional demand. And as I mentioned, the government expects to double the amount of demand by the end of the decade, which is just incredible.
And how, when these projects get assigned, is it done? Like, can you just launch a project, or do you need the government approval to do it?
So in India, there's been an evolution of how projects evolve. Today, and for the last really decade, they've adopted a reverse auction system. So you and we have to go through a pre-clearing system and have to put down some money. for involving ourselves in the auction, but it's a clear, open, transparent auction where a variety of competitors can go and bid on any particular product. So you and I, as lay people, can actually look up the auction as it's happening and see who's bidding and how much they're bidding for. And as a consequence, we have a lot of knowledge and the clarity and transparency around these. Once somebody wins an auction, or a multitude of parties win an auction, then that goes through a process of signing the contract, the PPA. And that's why what the numbers I've given you are all signed contracts with that kind of guarantee.
And how long can India keep you guys busy before you expand outside of India? Is it just a lifetime of India?
Well, you're asking me in the golden age of India renewables, right?
Right.
And so, it's hard to look beyond the next 5 years without saying it's such a wonderful environment with a significant amount of tail end returns, equity returns, IRRs are rising. Tariffs are up about 20 to 30%, whereas our costs are falling for solar has fallen somewhere around 40 to 50%. So our spreads, our returns are going up quite considerably, and we continue to. It's a big task ahead of us to develop what's needed to be done. But we are the largest and biggest and best position, in our opinion, to capitalize on that opportunity.
Well, Nathan, thank you very much. Everybody, make sure to watch out for ReNew Energy RNW on NASDAQ. Fascinating story. Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Chris.
Appreciate it. Thank you.